Hey everybody, and thanks for clicking on this video and checking out my channel. Leading up to Avengers Endgame, I've been going through all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies in preparation for the big event, and today we are talking about Doctor Strange. If you'd like to join me to talk about this movie and join me for this journey, I welcome you to do so, and I'd love for you to do so. And if you have been on this journey with me thus far, thank you so much. Before we get started talking about Doctor Strange, be sure to leave all your thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section, and let's get a fun conversation going. And with all that out of the way, let's talk about Doctor Strange. Directed by Scott Derrickson, Doctor Strange introduces us to Dr. Stephen Strange, played by Benedict Cumberbatch. After suffering a severe car accident, leaving his hands in a constant shaking motion, he seeks out the help of the Ancient One, played by Tilda Swinton, where he is trained in the ways of the magistic arts and taught to be a sorcerer. The character of Dr. Stephen Strange is very unlikable at the start of this film, and Benedict Cumberbatch gives a great performance to this character. I especially buy him as a doctor in the hospital scenes when he's working on people and doing operations. And those scenes in the operations really show the ego and the arrogance of the character of Dr. Stephen Strange, as well as how important his steady hands are to his job and to his career, as well as his reputation. So that when his hands are taken away and given that shaky motion and are no longer able to be steady during these operations after his car accident, you really understand how detrimental this is to his career and his life. And like I said, Dr. Stephen Strange is a very arrogant and unlikable kind of character at the beginning of this film. So to watch him lose his hands and lose basically his whole life and everything that he's known, and having to seek out this Ancient One and come upon a world that he knows nothing about, where in the hospital settings he was a know-it-all and kind of thought he was better than everybody else, when he has to meet up with the Ancient One and learn the arts of magic and become a sorcerer, it's all new to him. It's a new world. It really humbles the character down, and he has to submit himself to the Ancient One's teaching. And through the training and through the interactions with the Ancient One, he really learns to let go of his ego, and that arc of his that he has in this movie, he gets a more fun personality. He's able to be kind of quippy, similar to Tony Stark, but not exactly like Tony Stark, and he becomes much more likable throughout the film, to the point that at the end of the movie, I do want to see this character interact with the rest of the Avengers. On the flip side of Doctor Strange as a hero, we also have the villain of Kaecilius, and the villain of Kaecilius is portrayed by Mads Mikkelsen, who I find very forgettable. He actually does have a pretty good setup of being an apprentice of the Ancient One who fell from grace and kind of turns to the dark side, so to speak. But everything about him, who he is, and his backstory is told through exposition to Doctor Strange and to us, the audience. So we never really get to see his story. We don't get to see his backstory. And it would have been really cool to have had like a flashback or some kind of scene in the beginning of this film or in the middle of the film that shows what happened to this character, where he started and why he turned the way that he did, instead of having it explained to us by other characters. I feel like that was a missed opportunity, and because they don't have those scenes there, this character isn't really given that much to do. He comes off very generic, he's not very memorable, he has a couple more comedic exchanges, and that allows him to have more personality than I think Malekith did, but to me, he's kind of on the same level as Malekith in Thor the Dark World. He's not that interesting, he doesn't really get that much development, he doesn't really get to shine that much, and it's really unfortunate. I feel like it's another missed opportunity with a villain in the MCU. As far as the rest of the supporting cast goes, I really like the relationship between Dr. Stephen Strange and the Ancient One played by Tilda Swinton, but I wish that there was more of it. There really isn't that much in the film of it. I wish there was more of the training, of the trials and errors of Doctor Strange. You definitely get the trials and errors in the movie. He doesn't always succeed. You see his failures, and you see him overcome those failures in the Ancient One's teachings and in his mystical arts. But there's really only a few scenes of it, and I wish that there was more. And the relationship between Strange and his girlfriend Christine, played by Rachel McAdams, is okay. I like the chemistry between Benedict Cumberbatch and Rachel McAdams in the movie and in the scenes that they are in. They really pull off the chemistry, and I do feel a connection there with these characters. But she really is just a connection to Stephen's old life when he goes off to train and become a sorcerer. She's what kind of tethers him to the old hospital life that he had and the old doctor life that he had. So we don't get to see that much of their relationship. There's a little bit of an arc with their relationship in the movie, but for the most part, she's really only in like maybe 3 or 4 scenes. And we don't really get to know much about the character of Christine. She really could have been played by anybody. Most of why I like Christine is just because she's played by Rachel McAdams, and I like Rachel McAdams as an actress. So she makes it easier for me to just like Christine because simply it's her playing the character. But I'm hoping that in future movies we'll get to see more of their relationship and see it grow and develop more and get more attached to it. Because I do think there's something there that could be really special between these two characters and these two actors. And Chiwetel Ejiofor, I think that's how you pronounce his name, as Mordo, as Baron Mordo. I don't really know how to say that name. I don't really know how to say that. Baron Mordor. No, it's not Mordor. Baron Mordo. Mordo? I'm just gonna put it there. I feel like he's done alright. They do set this character up to potentially be a villain, it seems, in the future movies, but his arc and his character story kind of gets lost in the mix of everything else in this movie, so he doesn't really get that much time to shine. And it did kind of feel like they were trying to set up a relationship, a friendship between him and Doctor Strange. So when you see them kind of setting this character up to be the villain in future films, it's supposed to be really heartbreaking and kind of sad to watch this friendship kind of break apart, but they don't really get that much screen time together, and they don't really get to see that relationship develop or grow, or the progress of that relationship very much. So I don't really feel anything for their friendship or for their relationship. But it doesn't really feel that defined to me, and I'm not really attached to it. So if they do have this character be a potential villain, a rival to Doctor Strange in the future movies, I hope they can do more within that movie to make me feel emotionally invested into the conflict, because at this moment, I don't really know the character that well, and I don't really feel an attachment to him and Doctor Strange's character, so I'm not going to be that invested in the conflict. Based off of just this movie. The effects of this movie is really where it shines. They are the star of this movie. The imagery and the effects and just the visuals that they put together for this movie are so trippy and wild, and everything is constantly moving and flowing. It's baffling to think that someone thought all of this up, and the amount of work and effort that probably went into creating these visuals is really impressive to me. I think they look so creative and imaginative. Someone's brain was working overtime for these visuals. They're stunning to me, and when I watched this movie in the theaters for the first time, it was in 3D. And I'm not a big fan of 3D. Most of the time with 3D in movie theaters, I feel like it doesn't even change the movie that much. It feels very flat to me. The perspective doesn't change all that much. It's just dimmer because the glasses are tinted. But when I watched this in theaters in 3D, it was actually really good 3D. These visuals really worked and blended really well in the 3D. And at home, even on just the standard Blu-ray, they still look really great, and they're really a spectacle to behold. And that one scene where the Ancient One is like opening Stephen Strange's third eye, I think they call it, for the first time, and he goes through all these really trippy kind of scenes and visuals. It's so crazy and so much fun to watch. I love the effects and the visuals in this movie. The biggest problems that I do have when I watch this movie, though, is because the magic element is so new and has to be introduced into the MCU, which I totally understand. Almost every single character's dialogue that isn't Dr. Stephen Strange's, that isn't said by Benedict Cumberbatch, is all exposition and characters just explaining stuff to Doctor Strange and essentially us, the audience. So we don't really get to know any of these other characters. We don't really get to know that much about the Ancient One, or Mordo, or even like the villain, or like I said, Doctor Strange's girlfriend, or any of the other relationships that he has back at the hospital. They all kind of get lost in this exposition and explanation dialogue. The character kind of gets lost. The character is explaining stuff to us through Doctor Strange. Thus, they don't really get to show who they are, and I don't really get attached or connected to any of the supporting cast in this movie, which I feel is unfortunate. Also, it's very unclear how long the timeline in this movie is. Like, it's very unclear how long Doctor Strange has been performing and practicing and training with the Ancient One in the mystical arts. I assume it's years. There's evidence and like suggestions in the movie that I think it's years. Doctor Strange even says himself when he's talking to the Ancient One, and he says, "How do I get from here to there?" And she says, "How do you get to being a doctor?" And he said, "Years of practice and study." I'm pretty sure that suggests that it's been years since he's gone on this journey and since he's met with the Ancient One, and how long he's been training with her is years. But it never flat out says how long he's been away. So when he does see Christine again, his girlfriend, I don't really have a concept of how long it's been since these characters have been together. And that's not a big thing to me. It would have been kind of nice to have a definitive answer to that question. In the end, I like Doctor Strange. It's never resonated with me as much as it has with other people. I've always thought that the visuals in the movie were great, and the action was really good, and the way that they incorporate the visuals and the mystical arts into the action I think is really cool. But the characters I think are just decent, and I think the story is just okay. But even with all that said, I find enjoyment in the movie, like I said, and I do look forward to seeing where they could go with these characters and this world in future installments. Anyway guys, that's all I have to say about Doctor Strange today. But what do you think about Doctor Strange? Comment down below, let me know. I want to know all your thoughts and opinions about this movie. Guys, Endgame is just around the corner, and I've got a few more MCU movies to talk about, so I'm going to be back soon talking more MCU movies. If you'd like to join me for this journey, I welcome you to do so, and I'd love for you to do so. And let's get a fun conversation going down in the comment section below about all these Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Once again guys, my name's Zachary Milne. Thank you for talking movies with me, and I hope you have yourself a great day.